Hey there, it's Teresa here, and welcome to another episode of Conversations from My Couch. Hi, I'm Teresa Youngkin. I am a leadership coach and consultant. And this week, I have the pleasure of bringing my friend Robin Carberry to the show, and I'm so excited for you to meet her. One of the things that I do and that I like to do is to bring other fellow leaders onto the conversation from my couch, where we have just discussions about the things that drive them, things that they're passionate about, because that is ever so important as your leader. And this is the one thing that Robin talks about is getting your spark back. So Robin, welcome to my couch, or virtually your couch
I
too.
wish I was literally on your couch right now. Like, I wish I was sitting right next to you.
I know, but you know what? Thank goodness that we've got new things now like Zoom and all that really cool stuff. So, Robin, just give us a little bit of background about you and your journey.
Awesome. So it's kind of a long journey because I am 57 years old. I will cut it down to the essentials. So I started out after college in the tech industry, worked for a couple of startups, decided, screw this, screw working 90 hours a week for somebody else. I'm going to start a business. So I bought a restaurant at the age of 29 in a tiny little town in Eastern North Carolina. Literally the second day I was here, I met the man I was going to marry. I was introduced to him by the people who I bought the restaurant from. So owned and ran the restaurant for 8 years. It was fun. It was an adventure. It was a lot of hard work. Don't let anybody tell you that running a restaurant is easy by any stretch of the imagination. But I was also diagnosed with lupus, which meant I could not continue doing what I was doing. It just was literally physically impossible for me. So I sold the restaurant. By that time, I was married. We were not leaving this tiny little town that I lived in. So I looked around. The online work wasn't an option at that point. I was like, all right, well, I didn't sell the restaurant and make my retirement money. I need a job. What am I going to do? And it has to be something simple and easy and non-taxing and allow me to recover my health. So I went to work for a law firm for 16 years. And while it did all those things that I wanted it to do, it gave me health insurance, it allowed me to recover, it allowed me to punch in and out. When I got healthy, I realized like I cannot spend the rest of my life doing this. It's slowly killing me.
Yeah.
So at that point, I met a coach who encouraged me to, she's like, well, you ran your business, you ran a business, Robin, what are you doing? You can do this again. And now you can do it online. I was like, hello, what a great idea. So that's exactly what I did. So what I do now is coach Gen X women. I help them untangle the knot of midlife confusion, uncover what they're here to do, and unleash more flow, connection, meaning, and joy in their lives.
Wow, that's amazing. So, I'm all about, people becoming leaders of their own lives and developing themselves. And this is definitely one way to do that. I thoroughly believe that you've got to know yourself and understand who you are before you can really give back to the community, give back to your family, give back to the world. Because I know as a Gen Xer myself, that's one of the things that I'm looking for. Where am I making my mark? And I want to make sure that I'm doing it in a way that I always say makes me holy, right? So the thing that makes me want to get up every day and be passionate about what I do. So I love to hear this. So what are you working on now? Let me know.
So, like I said, I work with Gen X women, and I've had so many women come to me with literally say to me, I want you to help me figure out what I should do when I grow up. Now, let's not get this wrong here. These are accomplished, smart, experienced women who either own their own business or have worked their way up the corporate ladder. They are respected. They are seen as advisors and leaders, but they still feel like they don't have it all figured out. And that's because there's this belief that we have that being grown up means that you have all the answers and that you're supposed to know, like you hit 40 and it's like life's mapped out and it's very clear and you know exactly what the next step is. But you don't. And you maybe feel like, what's wrong with me? Because I don't really know what I should be doing next. And that's exactly why the Sparketypes were created. So the Sparketypes is a tool that I use in my work with women to help them figure out the next step, because it was created to help you understand the type of work that really lights you up, that really inspires you, as opposed to work that maybe you have developed a lot of expertise around and you're okay with doing it like you enjoy it. It's all right. but like, who wants their life to just be, it's all right, you know? You
Exactly.
spend so much time at work. Like, it should be something that lights you up instead of something that just drains the life out of you.
Exactly. Exactly. So, so what would be your first step here? Like if we were to think about it, and if I wanted to take a step to understand what's really good for me, if I were to think about like productivity, because everybody wants to be more productive, right? And this is one of the things that we look for is what's going to make me better. So if I were to think about productivity, what are two things that I should think about, especially as a Gen Xer? We've got a lot of things that are changing. We're moving from just being moms of younger kids, and we're moving into a new stage of life, and with that comes physical changes and also just mental changes. Things change, and then a lot of times become caretakers of our own parents again. So we have like this very small kind of feels like a window to do the things that really that we want to do and that we can do. So what are some productivity things that
So,
I could
two
do?
things that would set you up for success. And this is, I've experienced this personally, and this is also something I work with my clients on. And these are not, you're not going to be surprised by my answers here. First is sleep. So, especially for the moms out there, anybody who's raised young children and has gone through that total sleep deprivation phase where sleep is a luxury, sleep is not something that you can prioritize. As Gen Xers, we are moving out of that stage of life where that then it becomes something that like we have to consciously make into a priority, because if you are not adequately rested, there's a gajillion studies out there that tell you you are not going to be at your best, you're not going to be effective, you're not going to be able to make clear-headed decisions, you're not going to be able to assess what your priorities are, you're not going to be able to take care of other people like your parents, you're not going to be like happy and joyful and able to make time for play. You're not going to have the energy that you need to have, especially going through the changes physically that we are going through.
Yeah.
Sleep, most people need at least 8 hours of sleep a day. And I know there was this like culture in the 80s and 90s, like, oh, like, 4 hours and pride yourself on that. Like,
I
no,
I was just
2% of the
thinking that.
population 2% of the population falls into the category that they need less than 8 hours of sleep. So I can pretty much promise anybody who's listening to this, you are not one of those 2% people. Prioritize sleep. The second productivity tip is meditation. So when I say meditation, there's all different sorts of ways that you can meditate, but it's
Mhm.
really about creating intentional space in your day. It can be as little as 5 minutes where you sit in a quiet space, a safe space, get comfortable with yourself, and be present in the moment. You can use an app, you can repeat a mantra to yourself, you can just sit quietly. You don't have to worry about not thinking, like, oh, I'm not supposed to think when I meditate. Like, no, let's not overcomplicate this. Start, if you're not meditating, simply start by taking a few minutes to sit and be present in the moment that you are in without thinking about yesterday or tomorrow.
Yeah. That's really hard. And I know for like Gen X women, it's super hard because like you said, I mean, like when you said the statistic about the 2 minutes, I was like, yeah, like, right. Like we were driven. It's like we were that first real career oriented generation. And it was like 4 hours of sleep, you get up, you do, you go, you go, you go, and you'll be successful. And this is just what it is. And unfortunately, as we get older, we can't do that. And when I say older, I'm talking about like in your 40s,
Mm-hmm.
after you get some time just to do things, it is just crazy. And you need that rest. I know that I still need 8 hours, and we got to work through the guilt of doing not being asleep for 8 hours, right? It's like, oh my gosh, I should be doing this. And it's a mindset change. And I have to say
Mm-hmm.
that when we met, that was one of the things that like I loved about you was that you talk so much about mindset changes, right? It's not, you're not the same person 20 years ago, and you're not going to be the same person 20 years from now. This is, you need to be here and present in the moment. I love that about you most and foremost. So let me see. What's the biggest mistake, and what was your biggest mistake, and what did you learn from it?
So I'm going to put this in the context of my business and what I'm doing now
Yeah.
to some degree. So my biggest mistake, like as an adult probably, has been not listening to my gut, to not trusting myself really is what it's about. It's not so much about not listening to my gut. It's about not having complete trust in myself and my reactions to things and how I feel physically about things. And the way this translates into business, and this is a career thing too, obviously, is that it can prevent you from ending relationships that aren't the right fit for you. So whether that's an employee that just
Yeah.
isn't working out, whether that's a client that you're working with and you knew it wasn't the right fit, but you said yes to it anyway, and then everything sort of came out the way you expected it to. Like you got to listen to those internal reactions, those internal sensations, and not just disregard them as like, oh, I'm just, I'm making problems that don't exist, or I'm creating something in my mind, or I know it'll get better. I just have to work through I just have to work harder to get through this. Like we're so programmed to like fix. Oh, it must be me, right? I just
Yeah.
need to fix whatever I'm doing to make this better. And it's like, no, actually, your body and your gut was telling you in the very beginning, this isn't the best thing.
Yeah.
So listen to that, trust that, go with that. That's my biggest mistake came from not actually doing that for myself.
Okay. And so if you could go back in time and talk to your younger self, what would you say?
So this is funny. I saw an interview not all that long ago with Raymond Floyd. So anybody who doesn't follow golf or isn't old probably doesn't know who that is. But he won the Masters in 1976, and so he was in an interview and he was talking. They were like, "Well, why were you able to be so successful as a professional golfer? Like, what worked for you?" And he said, "Well, one of the differences for me compared to some of the other guys I was golfing with is I wasn't afraid to lose."
Yeah.
So I never got into a situation where it was like the last day and I'm on the back nine and all the pressure's on and I choked and like started playing all conservative because I was afraid to lose. He's like, I wasn't afraid to lose. So I was able to look at things differently. I was able to see opportunities that other people could see because they were so worried about losing. And I
Mm-hmm.
was like, dang, man, yes, that's exactly how I feel. Like you just said it better than I could. So not being afraid to lose, like taking the action, it allows you, it like takes the blinders off, and then you can see opportunities that you didn't see before because you're moving forward, you're taking steps. Even mistakes can open doors for you if you're just like okay with like this is life experience and I'm just collecting information and data, and like if I screw up, okay, what did I take away from that? What did I learn from that? So I would go back to my younger self and say, look, you're gonna screw up, like just by being a human being. So just take the step, just do the thing. And I actually did that a lot. Like I bought a restaurant at 29, so it wasn't like I was totally afraid of taking risks, but still, there's a lot of times when fear would hold me back from doing something. And when I stepped through that and took action and wasn't afraid to lose, I always got something out of it. I just didn't always know what that thing was in the moment.
Yeah. You know what? That's such a lesson learned. I mean, like that's amazing. And I know like in tech, we always say fail fast, right? Like don't be afraid, experiment, do it. You can always pivot if you need to. And unfortunately, like we're willing to do that sometimes in our work lives, but we don't think about doing that in our personal lives. And it's a lesson that's I think it needs to be heard and it needs to be broadcast out that you can do whatever you want. Just take the steps to do it. Let's see. So I know that you work with Sparketype. I love DISC. I heard about Sparketype and I thought, wow, this is like another great tool as a leader to understand who you are and where you are and kind of like, again, like what makes you you and what feeds your soul, like what makes you holy. So, you know what? Tell me about the Sparketype.
I would love to because I'm like obsessed with this archetype. I've been working with women in this way for years, but I discovered the Sparketypes probably about a year ago now. They had been around for a little while. And when I first took the assessment, a client actually introduced me to it. I was like, oh my gosh, this gave me so much insight into myself and about myself, and how I ended up where I ended up. And so many people, when they get to this age, they get to their 40s, they're burnt out, they're confused. You're successful, you've got a great career, you're seen as a leader, an expert. People come to you and rely upon you for your expertise, but you think about what's next for me, what's the next step, and maybe like the next step on the ladder isn't all that exciting or appealing. And you're looking for meaning and purpose, like you said this earlier, T. Like, you're looking for meaning and purpose in your life. It's like you can see, okay, we're not quite on the back nine, right? To keep with the golf analogy, exactly. but we're seeing like the sort of the rest of our life laid out in a way that you don't see it in your 20s or 30s, right? So it's like, well, shoot, how can I make a difference? How can I how can I make my life feel meaningful and purposeful? And this is exactly why the Sparketype assessment was created. It's so you uncover the work that does bring you energy, that puts you in the zone. So when you're doing it, time flies by and you don't even realize it. It's work that you would get paid for, the work that you would do without getting paid for, right? So there's 10 different core motivators or core Sparketypes. And most people, not everybody, because not everybody's assessment works for everybody, but falls into one of these Sparketype categories. And they're things like the sage, the advisor, the maker, the scientist, the essentialist, the nurturer, the advocate, the warrior. There's so many different places that you fall into, and it helps explain so many things about decisions that you've made in your life that have worked or not worked out. The type of work that really gives you energy, the type of work that you're good at, but it doesn't really light you up. And it really can allow you to look at opportunities differently, to look at directions that you can move in differently, to actually look at jobs themselves. Forget about what the title of the job is, even forget about what the industry is. It allows you to look at those opportunities in a different way, because you know the type of work that you are going to love doing and make a difference in, and the skills that you can bring to that. And it just allows you to look at your future in a way that feels aligned and that you can be excited about.
Awesome. That is, to me, the key is to figure out how absolutely like what drives you and what makes you feel good, and again, where you're making a difference. Like, what's your spark? Like, what's going to light it up for you? And I know that I've done the free assessment and I was spot on. So I totally believe in it. I'm about being self-aware and kind of learning about who you are to make sure that you are feeding your soul. So Robin, anything else that you want to add?
Just two things. So first, if anybody would like to take the assessment, it is free. I highly recommend it. It takes you about 10-15 minutes maybe. But I've talked to hundreds of people about this assessment and have had that many take it. There's been maybe one or two where like, most people come back to me and they're like, holy, wow, that was spot on. And it really helped me understand myself better. So I highly encourage you to take the assessment, and I can, maybe you can drop.
I will drop that into, I'll put the link in.
Sparketype.com/Sparketest, SPARKETEST. And then I also have a free guide about the 10 core motivators that help you unlock your potential and allow you to make easier, more aligned decisions. And this dives into the Sparketypes a little bit. So I'm happy to share that link as well.
Awesome. I will put both of those links into the bio. And thank you so much for coming on. Again, just when you think about yourself, and a lot of people don't even think of themselves as leaders, but you have to understand you are the leader of your own life. You're the leader of your family. You are the leader where you work. You are a leader. And to do that, you need to understand who you are and everybody has a certain type, everybody has certain motivations, passions, whatever, that moves them to continue to be the best that they can be. And the Sparketype really is one of those to help you understand. And Robin is an amazing coach, and she's a leader in her field. So Robin, thank you so much. I am humbled that you came on to this to talk to my audience. I so appreciate it. And people can also find you at Robin Carberry, or where else can they find you?
You can find me, my website is robincarberry.com. Also on Instagram, Robin Carberry Coaching, Facebook, Robin Carberry, send me a friend request.
Awesome.
Always love meeting new people.
Awesome. So plenty of ways to get a hold of Robin. I will make sure that I include the links so that you can reach out to her. I'd encourage you to take the Sparketype. I'd encourage you to reach out to Robin. She's amazing. And thank you guys all for being here for another conversation from my couch with my special guest, Robin Carberry, talking about the Sparketype assessment. And I will catch you guys here on my couch on the flip side. Peace.